Hello. All right. This is day 2 with the Comma 3. Been driving with the Comma 2 for a little over a year and a half. Upgraded to Comma 3 Cross Country Edition. I'm running. It's running Openpilot 0.8.7. Just the normal straight release, not a custom fork currently. So giving it a try. Been pretty happy with it so far. Um, the screen's really great. Actually, I like the driver monitoring, how the driver monitoring is set up on it. It's a little bit better. I used to have a real problem where I couldn't interact with my kind of in-car controls without it fussing at me, and it seems to be slightly more tolerant about that, which is actually useful. So I'm very happy about that. The one thing is that I'm not super happy about or not super thrilled about is they're very conservative in the follow distance. So it's fine on a 2-lane road like this, not too big of a deal. But if there was like somebody in a hurry behind me, that tends to make them angry and they want to get around, which is why I like a little bit of a closer following distance. But I'm gonna stick on this release for at least a little bit to make sure that I'm contributing some drives to help with the model building for the Comma 3. But at some point I'm going to have to switch back over to Shane's fork so I can control my following distance. And the other is the disengage on gas. This is not my favorite, but again, kudos to Comma for taking the most conservative stance, though. So it's the safest, certainly the safest stance that they take, and they should be commended for that. But in practical day-to-day driving, depending on your driving style, sometimes it's a little on the conservative side. So, but that's why we have the custom forks out there, and it's so great that they support that. It's wonderful that it's an open source platform like that, and as long as safety protocols aren't violated, the custom forks can bring some nice enhancements. So like here, it's a little laggy, so I hit the gas to get some acceleration going to get back up to speed quicker. On the custom fork I was used to running, Shane's fork, I could do that without it disengaging. But that's okay. Main reason for this though is here's the wonderful Comma 3. We have a new driver monitoring camera that's a wider angle shot. They've also got a wider angle camera on the front, so they basically have a 360-degree view of the environment now, just with a pair of cameras. And then there's a third camera on the front, or on the facing the road, that is more telescopic, so that they can see things off in a distance. So that'll help out with like traffic light detection and just traffic stopping in the distance type thing like that. So we're not currently benefiting a lot from the extra cameras and resolution and field of view. They need to collect more driving data, video, and whatnot to be able to then train the models to utilize the enhanced field of view that the Comma 3 has. So those of us that have bought in earlier are contributing in our own way to improving it for everyone else down the road. But I love the new screen. So the Comma 2, right at its core, was running off of a cell phone basically, and it was doing well with that. But they needed something where they could deal with thermal management, temperature management better and whatnot. So this is completely custom hardware. It's really a nice step up from the Comma 2. Comma 2 is a great device. Still would recommend that for someone that wants to, get involved with Openpilot and to keep the cost down, because the Comma 3's a little bit more expensive than the Comma 2, but the Comma 3 is going to give us some cool things like right now we're on a beta of navigation, right? So I can pull up my navigation here, and let's see, I need to close that. Let's see, and I want to go to work. So look at that. So I hit my work, I hit navigate on my phone over here, and it pushes it to the through the cloud to the Comma 3. It appeared almost instantly, and now I got navigation. Now it's not, the navigation currently is not influencing where the car is driving. It's literally just some navigation. In the future, at some point, this will help feed into Navigate on Openpilot, where it will help it make decisions on taking highway exits and potentially lane changes and things like that. George at Comma has said he's not super interested in handling 90-degree turns, as in turns at intersections and things like that. So I don't know that, I don't know if it's ever going to get to the point where it's going to actually be able to drive door-to-door type thing like that. I don't think that's in the plans, but that's okay. There's a whole lot of benefit to be gained, even just from handling exits properly, and maybe some automated lane changes and things like that. But we'll see. It's I think some of that's in flux. Some of that's kind of fluid, so we'll see what they end up choosing to do. Now, while it's navigating, you can tap the screen and it'll go back to the full view. If you want, tap it again, you get our little menu thing, and tap it again and we get back to navigation. So, let's see. Nice kind of chill drive on the way to the work. We got a little bit of rain. Now, some things I'm hoping they add to navigation is maybe some speech, like telling you when to turn, maybe even announce street names and whatnot. I'm hoping there's some open source libraries out there that they could use to add some speech to that. I think if it's going to really handle navigation, it's going to need to add some capabilities like that, because right now there's no notifications or tones or anything to let you know when you need to turn. So you're going to have to watch it and pay attention if you're using that for your navigation. So odds are good, at least for the, until they get some improvements, I'll probably continue to use, either Google Maps or Waze on the phone, just because you get those the audible clues and it'll speak the street names. It'll tell you, okay, turn right on, Smith Road or whatever type thing like that. So I'm hoping we get that added in at some point in the future for the navigation piece. Get our not quite enough torque warnings for some of the turns. So I turned the navigation screen off because I like the big, beautiful view of the drive, and I like seeing where Openpilot thinks the lanes are. It just gives me a comfort that it knows, that it's got a good sense for where it's driving. I know some people have expressed some concerns about, we've got this big thing right in your field of view. Well, the reality is you can see around it pretty easy. Where it sits, um, with it up high like that, it's not bad. It's really not blocking anything important. Yeah, so here's one where eventually the Comma 3 should be able to handle that better. I got on the brakes a little bit earlier because it would have taken it a little longer to see the lead car, which would have meant more aggressive braking. And so I like my braking to be a little smoother than that. So I gave it some brake. Now I'll kick it on here. So what I've done is I've activated, uh, activated the cruise, turned on Openpilot, so we've got the green frame around it, and it should when the lead car takes off, then it should go as well. We'll see how it does. So I'd like the acceleration to be better. See how far ahead. So basically, I had to give it some gas. This is again why I like running a custom fork that doesn't do the disengage on gas, because while it's super chill to be like that, that lag with that much of a gap in front, what it ends up doing is it pisses off the people behind you, and it can end up making the drivers behind you be more aggressive. So I really don't like that long delay in it accelerating. Once the lead car takes off, and in the future, once we have it stopping for stoplights and going when it's green, we're really going to need it to be able to accelerate more. Or again, I'll have to keep running. I'll have to run a custom fork to be able to not have it disengage on gas, so I can give it some gas input to drive more like a human would drive. Because a normal human's not going to lag that much taking off from a stoplight, right? And that's the problem, is when it drives in a way that's laggier than what a person would do, that tends to irritate the people around, which then can create unsafe situations where you're going to get people that are going to then try and get around you and cut you off and whatnot. And so so I don't know that that's necessarily ideal, but it's like right now with on this kind of stock fork, I find that I'm disengaging more often. When I would run like Shane's fork, where I can have a little bit of a closer following distance and not have it disengage on gas, then I get a lot fewer disengagements, right? And I'm not pissing off the people around me. So I'm letting Openpilot bring us to a stop. That spacing's fine. I would be a little closer, but that's all right. This is that's an acceptable spacing for a stop distance. Now again, see that car takes off. We're just sitting here, and it's like, we gotta go. So it's like, so I had to give it some gas. It disengaged, and then re-engage it. So it's not the end of the world. It's not showstopper, but it's not as chill, not as smooth as when you can just sit back and give it a little bit of extra gas, type thing like that. So, but again, I would rather Comma take this conservative stance, and as long as we have the ability to run the custom forks that allow the folks that are used to driving with it understand its limitations and are comfortable with accepting the risk of closer following distances and the ability to not have it disengage on gas, then that's okay. That's cool. Maybe someday, Comma will give us toggles in the UI to control whether or not we want some of those things. But we'll see. They may or may not. Again, I think they're taking this really conservative stance. It helps out. It will help them to avoid. This is just my personal opinion. It's nothing that they've said, but I think it would help avoid, criticism of what they're doing, or at least reduce some of it. So, for example, if they had it driving really aggressively and close following distances and didn't disengage on gas and things like that as their baseline position, I think that then there would be people that would be criticizing them for they're making something that's unsafe and blah, 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 blah. And so I think it's smart of them to take that conservative approach so that there's a situation that I know Tesla has a problem with that, and hopefully Openpilot will be able to deal with something like that, where a car is coming across the path when you're at speed, and it doesn't get recognized as a vehicle, but it needs to be recognized as some object in the path. So I know that's something that Tesla's been having a challenge with, and we'll have to see how Openpilot handles that kind of thing like that. I wasn't going to give it the option though. I didn't want to find out the hard way, so I hit the brakes to slow down for that. So I know at some points this might have sounded like I'm being pretty negative about some things. I'm just really trying to give a good, honest opinion of it. It really has been a tremendous addition to the car. It has made driving, especially the long drives, so much more enjoyable. And I'm so grateful to have something like this available, right? To get this kind of this much capability without having to buy the Tesla and spend the 10 grand or whatever for their self-driving package. So all in all, it's a pretty good deal. But we can always push for more, push for better, and hopefully Comma continues to be successful and grow and solve self-driving cars. In a situation like this where the traffic's really tight and we've got people doing weird things and whatnot, definitely going to handle that myself. It's nice though, because the Comma 2 and the Comma 3 act as a dash cam as well, so if there is ever an incident or an issue, there's video available, right? And not just video, but all of the sensor data from the car, to show like when you hit the brakes, if you hit the brakes, kind of thing like that. And with the Comma 3 with the expanded 360-degree view, basically you've got video of the entire situation around the car. So in an accident situation, you'll have a nice record of it. Now, if you were the numbnuts that wasn't paying attention, well, then that's not going to help you. It's probably going to hurt you. But you know what? Hopefully you're paying attention. And it's supposed to. The driver monitoring, I think, is a real nice safety feature. I wouldn't mind seeing a toggle that allows that to be active even when you're not running Openpilot. I think that could just make driving safer overall. But make it an option. Not everyone's going to want that. But honestly, I wouldn't mind the driver monitoring alerting me if I'm not paying attention. you know, at all times, whether or not I've got Openpilot engaged. I think that's a nice safety feature. You know, I'd like to do that, see that for, you know, my son's about to start driving. I have a 16-year-old son, and, you know, he's going to start driving soon, and I really would like to put something like that in that's going to not allow him to have it self-drive, but just have it be a safety thing where it does the driver monitoring. Let's see here, we're in a situation here, I kind of changed things where there's a lot of traffic. There's folks that are going to tend to want to come into lane, and so I had to, because the following distance was so great, I had to speed up to make sure that I didn't have, you know, 4 cars cut in front, type thing like that. So. Lane change here, so we hit the signal, and so I'm on 0.8.7 right now, and it does pretty good with lane changes. 0.8.8, they've got a new thing they call the Desire model, and basically it handles lane changes much better. So I was running that on the Comma 2 just before I put the Comma 3 in. And on Shane's fork, Shane's SA Master fork, and it was so much more natural when it was doing lane changes. It was really stunning how much better it was. Looking forward to running that on the Comma 3. Again, when traffic gets busy like this, on Shane's fork, I'd be able to run it because it again allows the closer following distance. When there's heavy traffic, I find when I'm on stock Openpilot, I end up disengaging it because otherwise you get too many cars cutting in. You know, when there's heavy traffic. So in a mid-curve, I ended up disengaging just because we were already close to the torque limit, and then so a lane change it probably wouldn't have handled that smoothly, so it was easier just to do it myself. Lane change into the exit. So that's one of the things, again, Navigate on Openpilot should theoretically be able to handle that once that's available. Again, that's not for quite some time, but you know, certainly looking forward to that as an added enhancement somewhere down the road. All right, and I think that's going to be it for this drive. Thanks for watching.